That's 3. Take your hands, my dear, and place them both in mine. You know you stopped me dead while I was passing by. And now I beg to see you dance just one more time. Oh, I see you, see you, see you every time. And I'm I like your style. You make me wanna cry. And now I beg to see you dance just one more time. So they say, dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh, oh.
We're stronger than ever. Feel like the boys are ready. And we're ready to take this thing home.
Got my surname wrong. Got my surname.
Carl,
Carl, your mic's
your mic's muted.
happens, everyone.
Technical.
Don't worry. Redo. One more time.
No, it's good. As I was saying, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Zypherr Slater, one of the three beautiful faces that you'll be seeing over the championships journey. Joined with me is longtime member of the League of Legends scene community, Alex, Roidzz, Rymill, and then the big daddy himself, Spartan van Westhuizen. How are you doing tonight, boys?
I'm good, except for the fact that you spelled my name wrong, or my surname. But other than that, I'm doing well.
That's good. And yourself, Roidzz?
No, I'm doing really well, eh? Really excited. Got me hyped. The video got me hyped.
That video was straight fire. I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting here getting very hyped for this. I want to cast right now. I want to watch some games. Let's skip this. Let's jump into game one, I feel like.
No, of course. So yeah, obviously starting out, we're new year of VS Gaming, getting into it. We've got so much coming for us. It's group stages, the format's different, and everything is. We're obviously with the current situation with COVID, we're now having to take everything online. And yeah, like how do you guys feel about that with the new changes?
It's good and it's bad. It's a good thing because it stretches out the tournament, and I kind of like it. I kind of like that teams have a second life. You know, it's not that lose your couple of first games and then you're out. You know, which kind of happens in VS Final those weekends that we had last year.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks because, you know, we don't get to see everyone and have our classic Sunday party, you know. So that part sucks obviously.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Spartan there. Like, I definitely think that missing out on VS being like one of the best like little hubs, you get to see everybody again. Like once a year, you get to come together, compete, and you do generally meet up with the same faces, get the banter going. But at the same time, for a lot of the smaller teams and a lot of people like that, they now don't actually have to make that drive up and cost themselves lots of money to go there and potentially go out on day one or something. So at the same time, I actually do quite like the idea of having a lot more of it online, and I think potentially in the future, maybe even keeping groups online would actually be quite a good idea.
Yeah. I think that also maybe kind of prevents so many teams kind of flying over. But then, I mean, you still kind of get that fact where teams go up and they play a game or two and they kind of get knocked out. But I mean, there's obviously not that many teams going up towards the VS Gaming finals then.
Yeah, look, I just think like at the end of the day, if we can keep more of it online, you still have more time for then the teams that technically go up. So then instead of having a case of where we have to play like the best of ones from groups, that whole day can be dedicated to just doing best of fives. Now imagine you go to VS Gaming and every single game you have to play is the best of 5.
Yeah.
And you can make a bigger spectacle of it. So instead of there not being like last year, I think most of ATK's or then WRG's games weren't even casted during the group stage, and now you can make a spectacle out of each like series and stuff, and each game they're playing, which just hypes it up more. And even if you're only there for one series, it's a full series that will be casted about you. So even if you drop out, let's say game 1 against a WRG or well ATK obviously,
Yeah.
or whoever, then you know at least you had that time in the spotlight. I think orgs, you know, they will value that as well.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
It's my mic a little loud, sorry. Just turn me down a bit, Carl. Sorry.
Okay, sweet. But yeah, obviously, with that being in mind, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got to go through. We're going through the groups, the players within those groups, how our expectations. We've got a couple guests on here for you, and then of course a whole bunch of other stuff coming up.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to discuss with the groups being announced and how all of that will be done. And then also, there's a lot of stuff to, like the format of it, if not a lot of people understand it, and how we're going to do the format. The cam's dropped, Kyle.
Oh.
Did you switch scenes?
No, I didn't. I think the Discord. But anyway, continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do you just want to jump into how the how it's actually gonna work, like the 3 stages that we're having, or do you want to discuss that or what?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've got the three stages that we obviously have in place. We can take a look at the groups. Well, we sort out the Discord at the moment. So these are obviously the groups that we have in mind. We've got our group A, which has got the general 80k goon squad. We have Air Millennium. We have Trooper. Excuse my Afrikaans pronunciation. Down South Gaming, Omnius Gaming, Ostrich, XYZ Reflect, Origin of the Shadows Synergy, Ego Team Ferocity, CG Living Failures, and then on the Group B side we have Royalty Esports, Evo Esports Enigma, Good Gaming Black, Era Esports Lost Time, ATG Zero, Ali Dogs Gaming, which is Nebula. We have a League of Legends team, and then the 2 remaining mad teams, Mad Instinct and Mad Synergy.
Yeah, these groups I feel like they're very good. They are, I think, like someone mentioned out, if so basically the first seed has the 4th seed in here if you're just looking at the top side of it, and the 2nd and 3rd seed are together with a 5th seed. So basically how these groups will work is if the team that comes dead last in each group fall out. Yeah. So if hypothetically you only win 1 game but there's a team that loses everything, as you can see there's 9 teams in both, only the last place team will drop out after stage 1. Okay, and then going to stage 2, the top 4 teams of each group will go into a winners bracket, and then 5 to 8 will go into, like, I guess a losers bracket or like a B bracket type effect, and then it will be played in like that. So you will, yeah, turn me down a little bit, Kyle. Okay. It's like 10-20%. Apparently I'm yelling at everyone, but everyone should be used to it by now. But yeah, and with this format it makes it very interesting. So like now you, instead of you fighting not to drop out, you're fighting, try and get in that top 4 position, because that gives you a way better chance going into stage 2, being in the top side of the bracket. What do you think, Roidzz?
Yeah, look, I think it's nice to see it being implemented again. Double elimination is always the best way to go. I see that now as well in the normal standard LCS. I know in NA LCS they've also now implemented double elimination again, which I think is quite a cool thing that they've added. So clearly they've taken note of our amazing tournament running skills here in South Africa.
100%. Must be.
But one thing I'd really like to point out right now is looking at the groups, it must be said that I think Group B does look like the stronger group at the end of the day. Obviously, barring 80k Goon Squad being in Group A and Era Millennium, I do feel like a lot of the old kind of big names are still in Group B. You've got Royalty Esports, you've got Evo Esports, which consists of some of the old players from GG. You've got GG as well, so that's a nice little kind of group battle to be had, since a lot of the players left from GG and went to Evo. So yeah, I feel like Group B, and I mean you even got a League of Legends team who I think came 4th not a couple years ago. So there are some really good names in Group B, and I think that's going to be a really nice group to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think in Group B, the fight for fight will be all around. You have a lot of top teams, top of the table teams in Group B, which will be the case because Goon Squad deserve an easier group because they got first seed, right? They got first seed in their group, so I kind of get how that plays out, and so their group technically is easier for them, but for everyone else, it's much harder. So if you look at around the third, fourth place spots, even the second place spot, like we mentioned, the top 4 is where you want to be. Group A can be very tough for the teams like DSG, which they ended 7th in the Prem division. So technically they should end top 4 in their group, but now they're going up against Zypherr, who also ended top 7. You had Era Millennium, who ended 4th. You have XYZ Reflect, who's looking very strong coming in, with the likes of Dash and Imba Pete and Dark, what's his name? Not Dark Puppy, the other support. Sorry, I can't remember your name now, but
Darkside.
it's Darkside, yes. So, you know, and there are a lot of these teams that can compete there. So you are looking at the likelihood of like a Trooper maybe dropping to 5th and then they go into the second stage in the losers bracket, which is not where you want to be. What is?
Yeah, I mean, losers bracket. You don't want to end up in losers bracket, but come on, you know you always want the underdog story. You know you always want to see
True.
that one team get knocked down to losers brackets and go all the way through. And yeah, I'm really excited. It's very interesting for me. Like obviously I've been out of the League of Legends scene for a while, but it's nice to see the same names kind of always up there. You know, like Air Millennium also now in top 4 spots. They've been there for a long time. They've held that sort of position and become quite a consistent team. And GG as well, also staying consistent, maybe dropping falling a little bit from graces at the moment. But yeah, I think the biggest thing we have to point out when it comes down to the groups is the fact that obviously our 1 and 2 seed are the fated rivals. You know that hasn't changed over quite a few years. We've still got the same players that, I mean, technically from back in my day, we still have Van from that era, with a kind of a new roster that won last year. Looking at kind of defending their title, and then you've got ATK, sorry, that have won a couple years in a row, and now also trying to see if they can redeem themselves with Kiddo this year after now swapping Kiddo out for Slayer. So I think that's going to be one of the coolest things to look at the end of the day, because we're in a situation now where Royalty has new blood. It's been very rare, apart from Garth, Rymill, and Jetlust winning last year. We haven't actually seen many rookies come up and do incredibly well in their first year. I think Jet is probably the Jet actually played a season before that, I think.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, he played.
Yeah,
so
with you.
In order for Lance to come up and win this season would be an amazing story to look at. So obviously Royalty, even though they won last year, you could look at them in both hands being underdogs in that respect, as well as being the top dog at the moment. But obviously ATK back on top where they were before, also looking incredibly solid with a roster that is filled with stars.
Yeah, and you have people that have played together for a long time. You know, none of these players like are unfamiliar with each other. I think the only people that haven't played with each other previously was Yellow Pete or ADHD, excuse me, and Kiddo. Other than that, they've all played together, so they don't have that initial cohesion problem that a lot of teams suffer from. And you know, they're a stacked roster, like me and you were talking about the other day. This whole team has been in competitive League of Legends for more than 5 years, so there's none of that nerves, really. Nothing like that will get to them. It is a very, very stacked roster. And then, like you mentioned, with Royalty, there's young blood in there, and the old guard, the 5-time champion and 1v1 champion Vanzor, which we all know and love. And you know, then you look at a team like Evo, and then they have Not, who's been in the scene forever, you know, who's also won a title. You have Cookie in there, you have Jordan Allen in there, people who are raising names. Batar, who last year came down all the way from Croatia, I think, and competed well, got third place here last year, did very well. And then you go look at another team. You have Era Tigger, very good player as well. Era Millennium, always at like in the top half of Prem. And you know, I'm hoping, and they've upset teams this last split, and I'm hoping to see more of that type of stuff. I can't hear
I
Kyle.
think Carl is muted again.
No, I'm not. There we go.
Okay, good.
I think obviously going into our group stuff, I think we're gonna head through our group A. Let's just take a sneak peek as what we can kind of expect and maybe see from the group A side.
Of gaming team, all of the trooper especially, can all of them be in there for that third, fourth? So it's going to be crazy.
So yeah, obviously now we've got the players pretty much a layout of pretty much where everybody's going to be, where everybody's going from starting roster for each team. So it gives us a pretty good idea of what we can expect from each lane and who's going to be playing this lane. So it's quite an exciting format of players and how we can see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting names here. You have Dash on XYZ Reflect, a former champion with ATK. You know, back in 2018, pretty sure 2018, 2018, Dash won with ATK. So he might know things. He might know how they think. He might have something up his sleeve to maybe do something to them. And then, you know, obviously the ATK roster is stacked to the brim. So it's, you know, I'm looking at, if we take like not the obvious, look at the obvious, which is HK. If you look at some of these outliers like Dash, Jacking Pete, you know, Trashy Support, which is what's his name again? What's his it's Dark something. Dark Side. I keep wanting to say Dark Child for some reason. Anyway. And then Penta Demon has been looking very good. Ian Fino, obviously, looking very good. Like you mentioned. And then Era Tigger, the whole of the Era team, you know, they beat GG this year, or in the last leg, looking fantastic, you know. But you're looking at this 80k team, and I just feel bad for the people that have to that have to lane against them, and they're looking very, very good, and they play so well as a team. It's hard not to favor them in this group heavily.
Yeah, look, we can probably harp on about 80k for a long time.
Yeah,
The
100%.
amount of experience in that team is ridiculous. But the one thing I do like you mentioning the fact that XYZ do have Dash, obviously, who was a former champion, as well as like a couple really dark horse players that I really do think could make a showing. Test Tube Child, I mean, he's gone through quite a few names, but David Rayner did also play
Yeah.
on a team with me back in the day, and I mean, I feel like he's an incredibly good jungler. So I know we have like a whole list of everybody's ranks and everything, but it's just very interesting looking when you see all these sort of names that I didn't expect to see still playing League of Legends, still playing League of Legends. Pete also in that team. These players all like, you know, from a League of Legends team back in the day as well, really good players. So I think they could be a dark horse. You know, they could potentially give Era Millennium a go for their money at the end of the day, and I really do think that is possible. So you just have to be careful. I mean, Dash has always been that sort of player. Like you always feel like Dash has been one of those people that have been underestimated a lot of the time, and then he did eventually get that win, and I do think it was well deserved.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, their bot side is also stacked. You can't ignore Jacking Pete and Darkside's bot side. You can't. They will play super aggressive. Might seem very coin flippy at times, but they can easily take games off of people, and they'll come up with crazy strategies that they all just buy into. There's none of this. I don't think this is gonna work. It's like, listen, guys, we're playing 5 summoners. Let's all just run at them. Let's do this thing, and everyone be like, yes, let's do it. And you know, when you have that buy-in and that commitment from your team, it can be crazy, and it can be very good. So yeah, looking at them, but just looking at this 80k roster for the last, just one thing I want to mention: ADHD 1 title, right? Neutron 3 titles, Keto 3 titles, Clax 2 titles, Unique 2 titles. That's stacked, stacked to the brim. You know, it's crazy. And DSG new org, never like literally founded this year, and now they're in Prem, and they can compete for a top 4 spot. You know, Penta Demon playing for Kiriori last year. I hope I'm saying that right, Viat, if you are in chat. Leaping Wombat being looking good on Zaya. I don't know a lot about Nick, but he was recently brought in as well. And then Fearbender, who looks good on like these DPS style mid laners, like your Zia, like your Ryze. And he can do a lot with that, especially in the current meta. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen around that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place plays. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and just talking about experience, I mean, you just looking at the titles, if you want to talk about the amount of silver medals on that team, the amount of
True.
like bronze medals on that team, all of those players were in VNR, they were in Goon Squad when it was still Ventus Goon Squad. Like a lot of those players have got so much experience coming out of 80k.
Yeah.
that yeah, it's just a given at the end of the day. Like some really big upset has to happen in order to topple those. They are the
Yeah.
giants of the group 100%, and there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like, okay, it's 80k and then Era, they're both on their own islands. I think Era can be faulted and have been before, especially by a team like XYZ or a team like DSG can take even Omnius. And then there's, sorry, I'm just looking, there's a team,
There's Trooper as well, who also.
Trooper, that's the, yeah, they did very well throughout the Prem. That's a team that no one expected to do that this well, and they beat some teams and taken teams to 40 minutes, like top 3, top 4 teams to 40 minutes, and people were just like, who the hell are these people? Because
they took a game off of Era Millennium as well.
yeah, so Trooper is someone I'm also very very looking forward to. Like all of these teams can beat each other, like. I think 80k are clear number 1, and then from there it's very very close. Especially because some of these teams have a lot of experience, and some of these teams are very creative. And in base of 2s that can be intense.
And that's one thing I really like that you keep pointing out is the fact that South African teams are just really known to be very different. I know we discussed this earlier in the week where we were saying, it always feels like when it comes to League of Legends Champion Select in South Africa, like although yes, there's always the meta, there's always the things that people want to play and the things that the international players are playing. Those rules don't really apply when it comes to South African gaming, because at the end of the day, these players all have so many unique picks. We have so many one-trick sort of players and so many players that have got such a vast champion ocean that we end up with some really, really interesting team comps that can more often than not catch people out, especially when it comes to cheese. And I feel like South African players are incredibly good at coming up with cheese strats, 100%.
Yeah. Because they've been practicing this stuff in Flex to get to Platinum or Diamond in Flex, and now they're picking these things. You're a top team, and you're like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. This thing's supposed to go there. This thing's supposed to go there. And you load into the Rift, and it's Yasuo Malphite bot lane, and you're like, hello, what just happened? I'm confused. And then they just run amok because they've practiced that comp 100 times, and you've never in your life played against it, and they know exactly how to execute it. Then I can easily see some of these teams taking games off Era, Millennium, XYZ, DSG, all of these. CG Living Failure. I mean, a lot of stuff can come from them too. I am very curious to see like what comps and what these guys come up with, because it's going to be very very interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, CG Living Failure is also being a very strong team as well. I think they were in first division as well, if I'm correct. They did a couple of good games as well.
Yeah, so CG Living Failure, as far as I'm aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, that's the team that knocked out GG Crimson, that came like 5th last year, right?
I think so. In playoffs, I think they were the team that knocked out GG Crimson.
Yeah. So you're looking at a team that, like, maybe some people haven't heard of them, but everyone knows GG Crimson. It's GG's second team that last year ended 4th, if I'm not wrong. The team with Sven in it, a team with Silver in it as the mid laner, and all of a sudden you have this CG Living Failures not being failures and coming and smashing a team that ended top 4 last year. So that's very impressive and very much a team that you have to look out for. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this group really plays out. Like, it's really hard for me to like put a finger down on what is going to happen, barring those top 2 teams, in my opinion. I'm still like, I know I said there's some dark horses that could potentially beat Era Millennium, but I'm a bit biased here. I think those guys really deserve to be put in a little bit of the limelight in this group, because that team has been so consistent over so many years that to say that they'll lose a game to some cheese is a viable option, but I really think that they are still a really solid team, and I feel like with the changes they've made to their roster, they've only gotten better. So I do feel like they've done the right thing at the end of the day with how they've moved through changing and swapping out players. So I think they'll have an answer for most things, and they're quite a versatile team as well, which is what I do really like about them.
Said, okay, so we have Era Tigger here now. You're gonna swap to the other one now. It's Era Tigger, right?
Yeah, hi.
Okay, because I know you've been in the scene for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
Like the most of Era has been, and I feel like sometimes there's not really. You're a team that's always talked about by the top teams, but you don't really. You haven't always been in the conversation for like top two, but you're always in the top like teams there. You're always a team competing, always a team stretching top teams to like 4 games, or not 4 games, 40-minute games, or long series. And coming in this, I think this is the highest placement you guys have had in recent memory. After leg going into finals.
yeah, definitely. I think most of the time we're around 6th to 7th, yeah. So yeah, it's really exciting. Always kicking, always pushing, and always trying to improve. And it's exciting now to finally have some payoff on that and be testing the top guys even more.
Yeah, 100%. Like last year, I think, or maybe it was during this. No, I think it was last year when you were still TYMC. During the leg, you even took a game of royalty. I remember that day specifically. You like playing Vayne. I don't know why I remember specifically. I just remember all of a sudden you popping off on Vayne and running amok through the whole team and winning. So you've always been there, and now it's kind of like your time in the in the light, and being able to show, listen, you guys up there, we are part of this. You're like, you can't leave us out of the conversation anymore. We've been here for years, so let us talk to you as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, especially this year and in more recent games, especially Leg 3, it's felt like we've been really, really close to these top teams. And it just comes down to, a few mistakes here or there that end up knocking us out. So hopefully we can turn some heads going into maybe group stage, but most likely knockouts.
Yeah, that was the one question I kind of had for you guys as a team, was like, obviously I've been around for quite a while and I've seen you guys be consistent and generally be in Prem, and I mean, I don't think you guys have been out of Prem for at least the last 4 or 5 years from what I can remember. Maybe I'm a bit off there. I'm getting a bit old. But yeah, like, how do you guys mentally reset after the years? Because I feel like not last year, but the year before was a little bit disappointing for you guys. You guys finished, I think, 4th that year as well, or you were just in top contention. I think you maybe lost a game to a League of Legends team right at the end of the season.
Yes, yeah, we did, yeah.
And then that put you guys down 1 seed. How do you guys bounce back and manage to stay so consistent year in and year out, even after making so many player changes? And I mean, like swapping out Suka, which I know happened a while ago, but like those are the players I remember. And now, I mean, you also, I think, swapped role. Okay, that was probably a while ago, but you guys all yeah, you guys all managed to stay super consistent and kind of still stay there. And like, what do you attribute it to? Is it your amazing skill as a captain? Is it just finding the players that suit your team, or is it having a
I think
game
it's
plan
just
that-
I think it's just enjoying the game, to be honest. I mean, all of my players love the game. We built also really good friendships over the last 3 years, and we just have fun. Every year is just a lot of fun. I don't think sometimes we have disappointing ends of the year sometimes, last year and 2018, but at the end of the day, it was just a lot of fun through the whole process. Everyone remembers the good times, remembers the bad times, but ultimately it's just just good fun.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you guys have been around for forever. Sorry, Carl, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, no. I'm actually just interested. So you guys have Mason, who is Era Frosty now at the moment. He's playing in your mid lane. From him coming from a top lane role last year in ATG, if I remember correctly.
I think he was mid lane for HG last year.
Was he in mid lane for ATG? Okay, I thought he played top lane. But coming into this, how does he fare going now into the current mid laners? How is he excited? Is he?
Yeah, so he's actually a special case. He was top lane in 2018, then he was mid lane last year, then he was ADC for most of this year. Now he's back to mid lane. So I mean, his champion pool is messed up, to say the least. So we've been organizing that, figuring that out. I think he's enjoying it. I think his first love is definitely mid lane. And he's doing really, really well. Like I was looking at some of our stats, and he's a top performer for Millennium at the moment, and looking for him to keep doing that for groups and playoffs.
And then you guys also have a sister team, Era Lost Time, which you guys have been using to funnel a lot of talent between the two teams and like building teams. But a lot of the times it feels like you're not really using one team to funnel another. You're mainly trying just to build two good teams and not really trying to kill one team to build another one better at all. Is that something from like management, or I'm not sure like really how Era like decides things, or who owns it or who manages it? But
yes, I own and manage it. Yeah.
Oh, damn,
so
okay.
I don't look at Lost Time as like an academy team. I look at Lost Time as its own team. So we try and build that roster as best we can. Unfortunately, just kind of how placements go, and Millennium typically being the higher seed team, a lot of the top players from Lost Time do move up into Millennium if there's a spot. But we try to keep both teams pretty consistent, and both teams have been quite consistently top 8, and I think now for the last 3 years. So it's been really, really fun and really, really great.
No, 100%. Okay, cool. Thank you for coming here. We wish you the best of luck. I hope your group goes well, and it's going to be exciting seeing you battle it out against some of the older people in here. You guys also being old, and careful of the cheese, I'll just say.
Yeah, definitely got to be worried about that.
Yeah, then we'll see you on the Rift. Thank you for the interview. We really appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Sweet. So
Perfect.
obviously that was Trigger from Era Tigger from Era Millennium. Currently playing, but I think he also manages the Era Lost Time side. So yeah, from what TYMC said, what do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, you may go first.
Why? I feel like I'm talking the most. So why don't you talk a bit about it?
Me?
Yeah.
I think they have a very positive energy about themselves. I know they have gone through their ups and downs, and I think definitely having the sister team does help them. I think, like I said before we started, I think swapping out the roster and keeping things fresh. I think I've always found with SA teams the one thing they really struggle to do is they do struggle to kind of swap out players. Often people tend to like create these friendships at the end of the day, and a lot of League of Legends in South Africa is about playing with your friends and enjoying your time on the Rift. But at the end of the day, sometimes if you want to be more serious, you unfortunately have to cut those ties and swap out players and do what you need in order to win. At the end of the day, that's that's kind of the recipe for success. Find people that work together, that can grow together. And if someone doesn't really fit, you need to swap them out, and it's always a difficult thing to do. And I must give it to TYMC or Era Tigger. Doing that as a player is always much more difficult, because obviously you are forced to make those difficult decisions, and managing two teams at the same time while still focusing on what you're doing is still a very, very impressive thing to be doing, and I think he does deserve credit for that.
100%. And I mean, that's something you would know a lot about. I mean, you building back in the day WRG into Rocket, into then the EN lineup, all of that team having a huge dynasty spanning multiple seasons, multiple titles, doing those things. And it wasn't just always the same team, maybe the same core lineup, but you would know a lot about managing a team and having to kick friends, not just, it's not just a random guy, it's a guy you won championships with, practiced with. Having to kick friends can't be easy, and I take my hat off for someone like him.
Yeah,
100%. So still on the Group A side, so just going back to, we spoke about XYZ with Dash and Pete, and then the two brothers. I mean, XYZ is a new organization that was kind of built. These players coming from League of Legends team, who I think was being managed by Hard Rock, still is, I think. And coming into a new team, I mean, the players haven't changed that much. I think their newest player is their support player. Their support, Darkside. And so far they're doing well, relatively well. I think they dropped one game in leg 3 against ATG0, who is in the Group B. But other than here, who do you see being the biggest contender for them being? I mean, them coming out in second through first division. Now looking at their group.
I mean, probably it should be like Era, obviously. Era and XYZ will probably have a big fight there. And I don't know, Trooper for me is so, it's like you can't, unpredictable is probably the word to describe them as. I think any day you don't take them serious, they will slap you around on the rift and you'll be screaming, please don't, and they'll just take your lunch money.
I mean, keeping in mind every single one of the players, barring Darkside, which I'm not too sure of Darkside's history in VS Gaming, which I think he has played 1 year previously, but every one of these players have been in a Prem Division team before.
True. Yeah.
Very, very true. There's some big names in there, man. Like I know a lot of people might sell some of those players short, but there's some really decent teams. I mean, some really decent players in that team. And yeah, you know, Trooper kind of thinking about it, they kind of remind me of the Tolly Boys, you know, back in the day. That one team that you always count them out. You never count them out because out of nowhere someone just whips out some Ken and Tarek bot lane and then you just get crushed. And I remember that game specifically from Tolly Boys. So that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The SA teams always bringing out some really interesting comps. And I mean, even I just seriously have a fear of Tarek. I think maybe that's just me, but even Era Millennium, I remember Vayne and Tarek game back in the day. Whew, that was some spice, man. That was some spice.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, yeah, I'm excited. So now we can move on to grabbing the one and the only, the myth, the legend. Greg, how are you doing, brother? Yeah. Hello.
How's it, Greg?
How's it, guys?
Doing well. Have you eaten now? Do you feel better?
Yeah, I had a wacky Wednesday, man. I'm feeling fresh.
I didn't even realize it's Wednesday. Okay, so Greg, obviously you guys looking at this group stuff, and we've obviously harped about you for a while now, and talking about your team and how great and amazing you guys are. So tell us something bad about your team, because I feel like we've given you too much credit already.
Something bad about our team. Yo.
They play too much CSGO.
Yeah, we're becoming CSGO experts. We need to play more League.
Again, I know there's something that someone wanted to ask you, so whoever that is, go ahead.
Greg, I'm just wondering. Obviously, looking at the groups, I assume you guys are not too worried. But it must be said that because it's a best of 2, are you guys actually worried that some really cheesy strat might come out and catch you off by surprise, and then you know you end up having to fight a tiebreaker? I mean, I'm pretty sure if you think about it and you do end up in a tiebreaker, we'd probably take you guys to win the tiebreaker anyway, because obviously you know that's like a best of 3. Then it's not so bad. But are you guys stressed at all that someone's going to bring out some really cheesy strats, or someone, you know, been watching your scrims undercover, they know what you're going to do?
I don't know. I think as long as we do our prep, we should be fine. But yeah, something like who was that played Master Yi? Yeah, something like that could catch us off guard with Brett playing mid lane. But yeah, we'll take every game seriously and try our hardest. Get through groups as easy as possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's... Yeah?
Sorry, did I just hear that right? Did you just say Brett playing mid lane?
That happened with the Evo game. Brett
Oh,
played mid and Kiddo
okay.
played bot, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, that was it. He played
And
Galio
then-
mid.
Yeah, and then a little Master Yai ran in there, cuts up everyone, Fruit Ninja everyone, and then, you know, it was just kind of sad. But, you know, obviously, you guys have been here before, like I mentioned earlier, with all the titles and stuff. And back in the day, some of these games in your day one, like your group, were best of ones. So you know how to identify these cheesy strats and just playing it safe and playing cautious and in the early game, so that you don't throw something and you know you should just outscale or just out rotate or out macro them later, no?
Yeah, I think our decision making is definitely at the top of South Africa. So even if it does get late game, I think we will have that ability to just, make a better decisions late game, make the better calls, and whatnot.
And I think for you guys, definitely now, obviously swapping out Slayer for Kiddo, after losing to Kiddo last year, you guys must be feeling very, very confident. Also, walking in the number 1 seed right now, you guys must be feeling very confident about your position and your chances of winning.
Yeah. Royalty played really well during the split, but yeah, I think it was because Garth played really well. So yeah, I just need to step up my game, and I think we should be good.
Yeah, that actually brings me on to my next question. I was just about to ask
I can
you.
read your mind.
I was just about to ask you. You know, obviously Garth looking really, really, really on form at the moment, being your counterpart in the game, you obviously must be feeling a little bit under pressure to perform because, I mean, at the moment, it must be said that it has been pretty clear that Garth has been
Yeah.
doing amazing work with Royalty at the moment, playing a really, really, really aggressive style. So I'm really wondering. I'm not going to ask if you what your answer would be, but have you guys come up with an answer to kind of answer this untamed aggression from Garth?
Yeah, well, we've definitely seen that that's their win condition, which is pretty much Garth getting ahead, snowballing the game, and top lane. So yeah, we kind of know what the threat is. So we have ways to deal with it. Obviously, you know.
What are your ways to deal with
Yeah.
it? Just let us know. No, kidding. But yeah, like we mentioned with the format what it is now, it's a lot longer and it gives you a lot more time to prep for games and knowing really what's going on. But you know, for a team like ATK, maybe in your group, there's not really, except for maybe some like XYZ and Trooper and ATK, or you guys are
Era.
ATK,
Era Millennium.
and Era, yeah. Then there aren't really a lot of necessarily tough games if you just look at straight up matchup for you lot. So you know, do you like the new format more, it being spread out this much longer, or do you prefer it just being like one weekend we go, we fly out, we smash everyone, we go home, and that's it?
Oh, well, the main part about it is seeing everyone because it's, yeah, the one part of year where you actually get to see everyone. So that's pretty lacquer. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. I think it gives other teams opportunities to not just rock up on a Friday and leave on the Friday, and then that's it. That's their weekend over. At least they get more of a chance. So that's nice. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it is a lot better around the middle of the table, a lot better
Yeah.
for them as well.
And then my last question to you is going to be the same question that I'm going to end up asking the guys from Royalty. And it's one thing that I've always thought is a really important part of being one of the top teams or one of the professional teams is obviously now with the fact that you guys are actually not going to VS Gaming. And you guys always being hello? Okay,
Oh,
cool.
I
Well,
think your cam
being
dropped.
being one of those like big game teams, like those. Whoa, I don't know what's going on with this. We're having some
Okay,
technical difficulty. I'm just gonna turn it off for now. There we go. It's
there we
back.
go.
Okay.
Okay.
So you guys being one of those big, actually coming down to it, you guys have always had that big. I've always said you've always had big game temperament, and now with you not being able, well, there's too many of me on one screen right now. With you guys not being able to play like live, I feel like you guys are actually like slightly at a bit of a disadvantage because obviously you guys have all been there before, and all these new players like Lance, and I mean I know Jet's already won one season, but I do feel like Jet can crack under pressure. On top of that, do you guys feel like you're at a slight disadvantage now because those new players won't have to have that pressure of like going to Joburg, playing out of their comfort zone against you guys?
Yeah, I guess I get what you're saying. I've gone to Rage, I think, since 2013. So I've gone a couple of times. So I've experienced what it's like playing there and rocking up on the day and whatnot. But yeah, some of the teams that haven't gone there, I can see why it would be an advantage because they're just sitting at home like they normally do, just like it's a normal game, even though it's the finals. So yeah, I guess I can see why you could say that they have an advantage,
Yeah, and no
or
clutch
at least
power
equal.
spike. No
Yeah,
clutch power
no
spike on land.
more. Oh, hopefully no internet issues.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big part of it. Okay, but thank you, Greg, for the interview. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you play. Obviously, you know it's gonna be
Sweet.
exciting.
Sweet. Thanks for the interview.
No worries.
Cheers.
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 Okay, Carl, what are we doing now?
I mean, we're just gonna take a look back at the groups. I mean, we're pretty much wrapping up with our group A, jumping on to our group B now. I mean, we've like I said, the names we've got. I think this group is probably the group holding majority of the closest talent, if I want to say. I mean, like I said, we've got the big guys, Royalty, Evo, Good Gaming. I mean, ATG Zero also coming in, like showing like immense talent from the legs throughout. So I'm actually quite interested to see how they play out for the group stage. And I mean, even a League of Legends team who had lost their roster to XYZ and now have built up their own roster. So actually really interested to see how they fare out into this coming group stage. But yeah, from that, I mean, let's just take a look at what we can expect from that group side going into the leg. Sorry, I keep saying leg. Going into the next group stage.
Good. So looking at these names, they are a lot of big names. It's like Kyle said, it's just stacked. I mean, you have GG, Evo, Royalty, Era again, ATG, Zero. You know, League of Legends, mad, both of them.
But no, looking at it as well, like I think one of the things that we definitely have to look at is like this GG will have something to prove this year so excited. I don't mean to knock the other groups, but
no, this group is stacked. But really not for number one spot, but for everyone. I hope that wasn't.
So these are obviously our group B. We have Royalty, Evo, GG, Good Gaming, Era last time, ATG, ADG Nebula, a League of Legends team, and then the two Mad teams, Mad Instincts and Mad Synergy. I mean, like I said before, it's really close counter teams, and like it's actually going to be an extremely exciting group. Not to say that Group A wasn't going to be. This is just going to be a much closer group, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna have to make all those points all over again.
Yep.
Yeah, we might be experiencing a little bit of technical I'm experiencing. I'm having a stroke
Some
right now. Actually,
literature
hold
problem.
on. But yeah, look, obviously looking at this group for me, we all have another one of those standout sort of teams in royalty. Not to say that they're in the same not it's not the same sort of situation as the previous group, in my opinion, where you have 80k who stands leagues above the rest, Era Millennium who are obviously a very consistent, strong team, and then kind of like other teams filtering in here and there. This is actually a group where we can see upsets. This is a group where we have people like Am Mexican and Galio OnlyFans, who's your left nut for people who don't know him, two incredibly experienced players in GG who used to play with Evo Not and used to play with Patar when they were in GG and used to play with Tortosaurus when they were in GG. So there's so many roster changes here that I feel like so many players are going to be looking to prove a point. Mr. Knott and Patar looking obviously to prove that their move to Evo and picking up these players was the best move possible for them. Whereas obviously GG also looking to prove that, you know what, we don't actually need you guys in our team to be good anymore. We can still do what we need to do. And with it being best of two and having players like Not and Mexican in your team, two players that are literally notorious for being like pocket pick cheese players.
Yep.
Not so much not I mean, it's hard to say not so much
Not.
anymore, but definitely I am Mexican. I mean, the Yorick pick in the top lane, the Zinval top, the Claire, the Valkos, things that you just don't expect. These are the players that when I mentioned in the previous segment that I'm like, these are the players when I talk about SA not having a meta, SA having its own champ pool that people don't like count for. These series are going to come down to these sort of clutch picks at the beginning. And I really have no doubt when I say that. And the biggest thing for me when I look at all of these teams, you've got Royal Alpaca in the mid lane, which is clearly a mistake, I think, at the moment. I think it's meant to be
So,
like.
I mean,
so what's gonna happen? It's just for the start, right? Because Lanceros has matric exams, and his parents aren't gonna take very nicely to us, not us royalty, him having to practice and stuff and having to play those games. So he will only be there. Alpaca's only playing for the start.
Yeah, so Alpaca will only be playing for the start of the game. For the first two games, we'll be having Lance is kind of is playing. So Lance is our starting mid laner. It's just when his exams start from next week. I mean they've already started. He's written a couple already. He won't be allowed to play. So we have to kind of have Alpaca jump into that on that side. So Alpaca will be filling in more so for Lance during the group stage, but back into brackets we've got Lance completely full time.
No, but that's really exciting, man. Like that's something that like I've always wanted to have in SA League of Legends, like being able to swap your rosters out, not just having 5 solid players you have to be forced to play with at Rage. I think that's something that's really cool. And just before I obviously said that, like I really think the most important thing to look at in this group is how absolutely stacked the mid lane is. Like in nearly every single team, you've got Alpaca / Lanceros, you've got Not in the mid lane, you've got Galio OnlyFans, all not all super experienced. Lance is a rookie, but the other 2 players or 3 players, all experienced. You've got Alcatraz in a League of Legends team, a player that came up through scouting grounds to prove that he was an incredibly good player. So many really strong mid laners in this team, in these teams, and just lots of players that have been around for a long time. I really think this group is super exciting. You've got like Duck ZA, players that have like shot up and appeared out of nowhere. And I always complain that there's not a lot of new talent in SA, and this group for me is like, there is the new talent here. You've got Jetlust, you've got Lanceros, you've got like all of these players.
Celestial Fever.
Well, he's not exactly new. He's been around for a long time.
You know. This group, if you just look at it, I'm looking at these names and I'm like, woof woof ahoo. Okay.
I mean,
Thinking
that
all
so
week
just to
watching.
quick, yeah, that's
That is
jungling
juggling
moron.
moron.
Yes.
No, yeah. That's juggling moron. A guy who's also climbed through the rank, used to be in DSG, right? And a very, very good player in my opinion. And you just look at the names that came out of Scouting Grounds or like the COVID Cup or whatever the hell, that other thing. And you're looking at APC Top Hat was in that thing. Another Doug was in that thing. Celestial Fever, I don't think might have been in a Dog Puppy was in that thing. You know, there's a lot of these names, and it shows that these tournaments that were run is helping these players, because all of a sudden they are in teams, they are here at finals, and maybe previously it's names that I wouldn't recognize. Now working with these players and watching these players play a lot, now I know all of these names. ATG, Zero, a team I have a very soft place in my heart for. You know, a team that I helped out last year in terms of coaching, with Away Sunbay Flexion, Grom, ATG Slave. You know, all great players, great people. This group is just completely stacked, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is where we see a hell of a lot of upsets and
Yeah.
see like it being hard to say, okay, cool, this is 100% 1 to 9. Like I don't know which team will even fall out.
I mean, especially considering the games are best of 2.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
literally what I was about to say, and especially considering the volatility of the players in these games. I mean, you can all say what you want about people winning and losing lane, but I mean, you've got the 1v1 champion, the current 1v1 champion in the bot
Yeah.
lane, who had to, you know, who worked through a lot of people. And I mean, like looking at the people here, you have Jetlust, who has been also known for being a 1v1 player. Like, no offense to him, maybe I have a biased opinion of him because I played with him before, but like this boy is amazingly good at 1v1. He might not be the world's best macro player, but he's such a volatile lane that he is the type of player that if he gets given the chance, he can take over the game for you. And Mexican, the same thing. I mean, we've all seen back last year when Gigi used to play TF and Yorick, dude, the split pushing prowess of that team, and then having Not and GG, like Not and Am Mexican now facing against each other, being two of our predominant split pushing players, and Jet as well as that thrown into the mix now. You have such a volatile top 3 teams in here that
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited to see these games, especially because it's a best of 2 and
Yeah.
anything can happen.
And I mean, Strider X, who was picked up here, also was in that COVID Cup. I'm pretty sure that was the name of
Yes.
COVID Clash. He was also there, and I had time to work with him there. And he's an amazing Caitlyn player. Now, assuming Caitlyn wouldn't get banned over these, or not banned, nerfed into the ground over these couple of weeks that we are playing the finals, Strider's in a very good position to smash people on that thing. And I'm just excited to see him play. And then Bilbo Saggins, how can we forget? You know, the man who basically ran the COVID Clash because people were so hyped about him, and Miggy was someone who just freaked out about him. And that was, you know, I'm just excited. There's so much. This whole like group is so nicely stacked, and I can't wait to just sit down and, you know, cast and watch all of these games.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you spoke about Strider X. We actually met up with him a couple of days ago, and we actually got to hear what he had to say and how he got into the whole scene. So let's just take that away and we see what that catch up afterwards.
Perfect.
My name is Nicholas Bamba, and also known as Strider X. I started League in 2011. I went to visit my brother at University of Cape Town for a few weeks, and yeah, he was playing League of Legends then, and I was very curious about it. I got involved in it. When I came back, I immediately downloaded the game and started playing from there. And it's been fun ever since. I've played different roles and everything, and I've settled down with my chosen AD carry role. I saw a post on Facebook one day and was just very intrigued by the whole, like, a new side of League. So I immediately messaged a manager that put out the message looking for a team. And from there, yeah, just took off. So moving from Omnius Gaming to GG Black was like a lot more exposure in terms of the community. I got a lot more people messaging me and you know, wanting to play with me, which was pretty cool. My name was out there and people like knew who I was, Whereas Omnius, like coming up through First Division and Open Division, like it's very quiet, not many people watch the games. So that transition was pretty big for me, and yeah, stick by it. Going in with GG Black, I feel much more confident than I would in any other team. So when I was with Omnius, for example, having a team that has a lot of experience among the different laners is great. It feels like comfortable. They've prepared me really well for what's about to come. I was nervous at first, for sure, being the new guy on the block and everyone thinking like he's no one, we can just, you know, mess around with him and like, what's the word for it? Like flash emotes at him and just take advantage of him because he's, you know, he's just the new guy. But, you know, playing around with people that prepared me for this and let me know that this was coming, it got me prepared, yeah, it just got me prepared. I'm definitely excited to play against ATK Unique. Carl, yeah, I met him at a festival one time, so we know each other, we're friends, he helps me out like here and there with some advice in the bot lane. So I'm both excited and nervous to play against him. Obviously ATK is a big name and a big team, so everyone like is wanting to take a game off them. Otherwise I'm excited to play against Roidzz team. I've looked up to them throughout my gaming career. A lot of their players have been around for a long time. And yeah, it's like going up against them is always, it's tough. Like I see other players do it, it's obviously my first year doing it. And like I was excited when we have played them in the past. It's been tough, but yeah, I'm excited to play them in the official championship league. I think any team should want to place first, without a doubt. I don't think any team wants to go in there with a position on second or third in place. But being realistic with my first year competing, so top 3 would be a good achievement for us. It'd be definitely something that I'm looking for. So I definitely want to compete. It's in my nature. I love it. I've done it throughout my high school career in terms of sports and everything like that. So that it just always has attracted me. If it's not in league, it's going to be in another game. Definitely love competing online. Online games are extremely fun for me, so I definitely want to continue. If I do continue in league, then you know, my goals are just going to get bigger and bigger. Obviously, I want to look to like improving in my wherever I place this season, knowing that I can do better next year and just keep getting better. For people that want to get a hold of me or just get in contact with me, you can find me at GG_StriderX or on League at StriderX or even on Facebook, and my name is Nicholas Bamber. For those that want to keep up with the action happening at the VS Gaming tournament, you can find them on YouTube at VS Gaming.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean StriderX.
That was cool.
Yeah, like you said before, I mean he was showcased in the COVID Clash, if that's correct. Like phenomenal player. Like straight after that tournament, GG picked him up. Like, I mean those type of tournaments is such a good way for players to be showcased. Players that aren't too familiar. And I mean he was in Omnius Gaming before, and from Omnius Gaming, GG reached out to him, picked him up, which I think was a good move. I mean, before they had Ruben, who also was a really good player, but I think because of his location, where he was having problems with his internet, they had to kind of replace him. I mean, more so, I think I wouldn't say. I think it was a really good change from GG. I think I'm actually very excited to see how they go up against the other teams. I know they had him through Leg 3. But going into this thing, I'm sure they've done a lot more practice with him, so it's going to be a lot more exciting to see where it comes out from this.
Yeah, 100%. He looks, like I said, he was such a diamond in the rough. When we picked him, he was in our team, Carl, I'm pretty sure. When we picked him for that COVID Clash thing, he was available, and we were like, I have never heard of this guy. No offense, Strider. But then we were like, let's, pick him and let's see. I saw his Happy.gg play some Caitlyn. I'm like, let's see. And I was just like blown away by not only how good he plays and how he can output a lot of damage without dying a lot, but also how impressed I was with how nice he was, and how he worked with the team. It was amazing. It was something that I just didn't think didn't think to see at that level necessarily. And yeah, it was just
No,
fantastic in my opinion.
100%. Well, we're going to take a look back at the Group B. Like we've been saying this whole night, close quarters. I mean, from your side, Alex.
Yeah, look, the one thing I was actually really interested watching that video, me seeing it for the first time, is that he does speak the truth in one respect where I think it's a really good thing that all these younger players start mixing in with the more experienced players and sort of grow that way. I mean, even me, when I started playing League of Legends, I only really started getting good once I met up with some decent players like Psychedelia and Vanza, and that's only when I started to grow as a player. I mean, before that, I was like hard stuck bronze. So I feel like you always want to be around those good players, and I also really just love just seeing a player that's just full of optimism and full of like happiness and joy, and he's so amped to be in this new sort of organization, and it's nice to see that. Like, it's nice to see that Royalty have a brand new mid laner that no one's really heard of or no one's seen before, kind of apart. He came out of the high school league, if I'm not mistaken, but like,
Yep.
I really like seeing that young talent. I mean, the last young talent I can think of is currently master tier. Yes, he does play from overseas, but is KDO in 80k. And I mean, we saw him come out when he was like 13, and he hit like diamond, and we were like, this kid is going on to be great, and he has done that. So I feel like this is just another opportunity for another player to sort of show up and prove himself, and that's really really good. And it's also really nice to just hear someone actually have that winning mentality, and just come out and be like, I want first place. Like, not that he won't be happy getting like missing out, but he's like, I want first place. Not like we often tend to hear a lot of people come out in the lower teams and be like, yo, the big dogs are too hard to roll with, so we don't want to like step up to the plate because we're just going to get knocked down. But it's nice to see someone with the right attitude coming out like, you know what, I'm going to take it to the top teams.
Yeah, and it's like Kiddo and Neutron and Klax and Unique, all of these players, and Yellow Pete, ATHD, waited years. They always said, I want to be first, I want to be first. And years they got second, or if you're VNO, you got forever third. But, eventually the dynasty must end, and it ended, and then they won, and these players that did not stop trying to win, and eventually they won, and they didn't just win because the dynasty wasn't there. They toppled the dynasty in 2016. So that it's just, sad on the day for some people.
The
But
shot still hurts, dude. The shot still hurts.
but it's true. That Vayne game 5 with Karma, Tarek, it popped off and it just smashed. So, it does, and that is what people tend to forget. And this is something you mentioned, Alex, a couple of days ago as well. People tend to forget that these players that are winning now didn't always used to win. They used to be the team that never won, or not. And I'm not talking about like 80k specifically. Before 80k won all the time, EN won all the time, right? And now that Royalty won for the first time, before Royalty won last year, 80k was winning the whole time. So all of these players that want to win, it's not something that you're like, but I'll never win. It's like a lot of these players are new to winning. Jet won his first title last year, and Garth, Rymill, and Miggy won their first title last year. That's 3 new players to it. The year before, Dash and Yellow Pete won their first title. So, and that's why I like the attitude that Strider has going on, and that's, I think, very good.
And it's just so crazy to hear that, like to hear that players like that are only winning in this season. Do you know what I mean? It's just like you said, the dynasty fell when Ian lost back in the day. Yet, Vanza coming back. Yes, he met up with Kiddo, and that's one of the coolest things we can always look at is the fact that who kind of was the facilitator for that win, because Van coming from winning all those titles back with Ian, now winning a title with Royalty. But the ironic part of the matter was Kiddo winning all those titles with Goon, or whichever team. We'll just say Goon because they changed a lot of organizations. But 80k's mid laner winning all those games, and then they merged together. They took down the Giants, and they
Yeah.
sort of started that new storyline for like, you know, Van, has he found his old mojo back? Can he keep winning now? And then Kiddo, as soon as he wins, he goes back to 80k, and now we have this
Yeah.
epic battle of the two titans,
Yeah.
trying to see who can sort of mesh it out. You know, who can get that W.
Yeah. And it's like the Bjergsen double lift thing, you know, they're both Titans, you know, one a little bit of Bali Titan, you know, he's a little older, hasn't won in a while, and the young up and coming superstar who's winning, and then they merge together like a Avengers type thing, winning a title last year, and it's crazy. And now and then they split up again, and everyone's like, oh, sad, you know, and now they have to fight against each other to see, you know, okay, who's going to do it this year. So it's very exciting to see.
100%. And I mean, talking of Titans, we've also got to think about the up and coming teams, the teams that have been on the lower side, but still building up that synergy, still building up that talent. And another one of those teams that we speak about, coming from an organization who has been around for some time. They've had a couple of teams in and out, and I think we've got Silver Saturn here with us. How are you doing, Silver Saturn? You from Mad Instincts?
Yeah, hi guys.
Hello, Silver. How are you?
I'm actually doing very well, and you guys?
Doing very well. It's going well, I think. Little technical issues here and there, but you know, it is to be expected.
No,
Despite that, it's going very well so far, I have to say.
Going good.
Thank you
at
very
least,
much.
if you're enjoying it.
So Silver, like, I'm just gonna call you Silver if you don't mind.
No problem.
Sweet. So how did you feel your leg 3 went? And obviously, from your leg 3, coming from the beginning of the year, you guys started this year?
Yeah, I've been playing for 3 years now, but my team is brand new. We started out this year as a secondary team for Mad, and it actually went very well, I have to say. A lot of ups and downs. Very difficult bringing brand new people into this, but in our first year being in the championships, it's a very big honor, I have to say. I'm very hyped for this.
I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. Just first year started out, you guys are a new team. You've run your way through second division. You've done your qualifiers. And now it's championships. I mean, that must be an exciting thing for you guys.
I'm so excited. It's fantastic.
And
Yeah.
Going through the teams in second division now, going into a Leg B. Group B. How do you feel about the group that you've been allocated?
I'm stoked. It's going to be very difficult, but I feel like it's a challenge I'm willing to take on. It's going to be very fun. I'm up against big names, and I'm quite nervous, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
You just ruined my next question.
What?
Yeah, you know, I was gonna say, you know, it's nice to see Mad still going. Mad's
Yeah,
been
definitely.
around since like season 2, season
Yeah,
3.
since we started.
That all been going for a really long time. And yeah, dude, it must feel really nice. Like it's always, feel like it's always really difficult for new players to kind of mesh, like to find new players, especially in the lower teams, because there's a lot of complacency in South African League of Legends. So it's nice to see someone coming in and having such a positive attitude once again. Just all these positive players. It feels like a whole new scene to me. Like, what happened to the old South African League of Legends community? Everybody's so happy these days.
Yeah.
I think for me it's just an honor being here. Honestly, I barely missed championships last year. When I was still with Mad Synergy, and the team being captain of Instincts, it's a privilege being here. It's really fun. I'm stoked. I can't wait. I can't wait to play against Royalty Sunday.
Yeah, it's you know, it's intense. And I remember my first year way back when, so we went in to a group with back then KK and those teams, and it felt almost impossible, but being there is so much fun, and it just propels you the next year. Like we were
Yeah.
talking earlier to Era, this team has consistently been in the top half of Prem for the last how many ever years, and they start, not only are they like quote unquote catching up, but they have been like, they're part of the conversation now. And that if you keep on qualifying and you keep on playing and you get to practice and get to play these teams, it's not something that's far-fetched anymore. Now
No.
it's real. It's not something you tell your teammates, listen, one day we will play there. It's like, no, now you do. And it's maybe it happens kind of quick. You're like, one day you're like scrimming and you're whatever, and the next day you're like, cool, we're playing VS championships now, so I can't, you know. So it must be super exciting for you, especially only in your third year. You know, making
The time
it
is
here.
now. It's not tomorrow. It's right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Nah,
running it
that's
through the playoffs
fantastic.
and stuff. Running through the playoffs, that must have been stressful because you guys had to qualify through a different type of tournament, if I'm not mistaken, to be in this, or did you just qualify through your
No, we
ranking in
qualified
first
straight off
div?
the bat. No, we
Oh, okay,
qualified
through
straight
your...
off the bat, luckily.
Oh, damn, okay. So yeah, did you guys know you qualified, or did you like find out
It
afterwards?
was a big surprise. No, it was a big surprise. They put out the announcement of the top. I think it was 15 teams at that stage, and even look. I thought we were too low on the bracket. I didn't even look at it, and then a week later, my support came to me and it's like, "Did you see we're championships? We're playing championships right now." It's like, no, there's no way. No, look at the championships. Mad Instincts actually stood there, and it was amazing.
Crazy.
It's always so nice to see like new players so excited to come and make it to Prem. I feel like a lot of the like more high tier players don't actually respect how much effort it takes to get to Prem, especially to find new teams. But I must ask you, with it being a best of two, do you have some interesting plans that we're gonna see for when you play against Royalty? Are you gonna whip out some cheese, or are you gonna give us a surprise?
Well, it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you right now, would it?
I guess not.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
Gotta
just
keep
DM
those-
us so we can seem smart on the cast, please. Thank you, Silver, for hopping in here with us. We hope the best for you. We're gonna be looking out for you. Gonna be looking out for those cheese strats. Thank you so much
Thanks so
for
much.
joining us, and good luck in the finals.
Thanks, guys. Have fun.
Cheers.
No worries. Perfect.
So yeah, that was Mad Silver from his side. I mean, also like I said, coming up team there, they've come so far in such a short period of time. It's really exciting to see that, and considering that they've got a sister/brother team. I don't know which one it is, in the same group as them. So it's going to also be interesting to see how they fare against them as well.
Yeah, and I'm so excited. It reinvigorates my heart whenever I speak to people like Silver. When you've been in Prem and in the scene for a long time, you often get jaded and you often forget how much it means to other people and other players. Like just seeing the excitement in his face and speaking to him, it kind of threw me back to when I first started in playing here, and it's just fantastic to see. I don't know how you feel about it, Roidzz. You being very jaded as well.
I'm one of those. I'm one of those elitist snobs. You know, I've never known what it tastes to be in first division. So, I got really lucky back in the day, in my own opinion, because
Same.
yeah. But I can't imagine what it feels like being a young player now, especially like if I consider how terrible I was at the game when I first started. In order to improve to get where I got, it must be so daunting now if you're starting League of Legends looking at players like Vanzo, players like Kiddo, players like Unique, all these diamond players and master tier players that you're like, wow, I have to step up and face those players. But it's also really exciting. Like you have so many new avenues now for people to get their way into these top teams. We've had scouting grounds, we've had the COVID Cup, Corona, whatever you guys want to call it. Terrible name, by the way.
It is a terrible name.
And it's like ways for these players to get in the limelight and to be discovered. And even the high school league, like your mid laner that's shown up, like Lance, I think that's a really, really cool new feature. And I'm really excited for even more things like this that's currently happening with this. We've never really had a proper panel in I don't know how many years of League of Legends, and I really think the more we can get exposure, the more hype we can build around League of Legends, the more the community can grow. And I think that's one of the most important things, especially with getting these new players involved, just because, like, that's where your bread and butter comes from. These old legends, eventually they're all going to end up being hand cripples. You know, they can't stay around forever. So it's going to come down to it. And at the end of the day, like, these players like Jet and Lance and Silver Saturn and Strider X, they're all sort of showing up, and they're starting to prove that they are contenders, and I think that's a really, really awesome thing.
No, 100%.
Yeah, and just about that, and it's like, yes, with these things that we're doing, yes, great. We need exposure, but that is something that must come from the team side and the player side themselves as well. Being available for these types of interviews and putting yourself out there to do these types of things, it's all exposure for yourself and for the community, and it will grow the whole scene together if everyone, helps with these things. So yeah, I'm very excited. It's gonna be very cool.
No, definitely. And I mean, just to wrap up the group B, we've got Liam Tortosaurus from Royalty, who has actually come from good gaming from last year's VS Gaming Championships, now coming through to Royalty once again because he was a member prior to this. And yeah, like, how are you doing today, Liam?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
It's good, it's good.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. Usually,
It's been so long.
yeah, usually I'm typing when I'm looking at you, because I'm just looking at your stream the whole time. But
Thank you.
but are you excited? How are you feeling? You obviously see the groups and stuff now. How are you feeling about your group being kind of stacked?
Well, I kind of like it. I think there's like, as far as I know, only one team drops out, so there's not like, even if you have a very bad beginning, it's not too bad. You can kind of see how good the other teams are. So I kind of like being in a stacked group as well. You can just start warming up early, start figuring out the other teams. Yeah.
Oh,
And then, yeah, go ahead.
I think that's a very, very interesting way of looking at it as well. I mean, provided you don't end up in the bottom half of the brackets, which I assume is losers brackets, then
Yeah.
I mean, you do get to test your middle against other teams quite early. And I know I've asked this. I'm going to ask this question straight off the bat since I've already asked it to ATK. But obviously, Liam, you've played on stage before, so you are one that knows what pressure feels like. Are you guys concerned at all walking up to play against ATK potentially later in these best ofs if you do make it there, which I do hope you guys will make it there. Are you guys concerned that, like, or rather not, are you concerned, are you guys like feeling rather sort of lucky in an odd way, because you do have a rookie mid laner who obviously hasn't had the time to mature and grow and kind of deal with these big game like pressure moments on stage, and now he gets to play from the comfort of his own home with his own mouse, with his own armchair, and have a nice comfortable situation. So I don't know, do you guys think that'll have any effect on the way you guys play this year?
I mean, it might to him, but like, I guess the way I see it, if I remember back to my first tournaments, it's more like, because I didn't play right in the beginning. So, a lot of the teams I joined had some experienced players, and kind of going there and getting the vibe of the experienced players kind of hyped me up myself as a new player. So that I feel like that helped me a lot more. So I think maybe in our case, it could maybe be, it's not like he's going to be there. We can't like hype him up, that whole vibe thing. But maybe for some of the other teams that have a lot more new players, it could be a lot more beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at AGK, which, that will be probably, that is the rivalry currently, you played them last in finals and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But it feels like you kind of adopt the rivalry. You being in GG last year, and in the year before you were kind of in Royalty, and then you left GG. You were in GG last year again, and then you came back home, to Royalty, and you kind of just adopting that same thing again. It's like, cool, this is my rivalry, and and GG obviously also has a rivalry. I think it's like a
triangle.
Cube.
Or it's a cube, yeah.
But Evo's also there, so it's like a cube of like rivalries. Everyone just rivals each other. But coming into a team that played in the finals last year, and are the current champions, that must be, kind of stressful. Do you feel any extra stress on your shoulders knowing that you're coming into a team that are the current reigning champions?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I was also back in GG back in 2018 when we were in the finals, and they kind of a very similar roster. They kind of started away from us then as well. So I think even though I've moved around teams a bit, it's still a lot of the same players, a lot of the same sort of rivalry, so to speak. So yeah, I think I can bring what it takes, like have that same competitive vibe still, because I have been in those situations on other teams before. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to ask, what does it feel like laning in the bot lane? Knowing now that you are laning with the 1v1 champion of South Africa. Do you feel like there's extra pressure on you to perform with Van, being there? Or, I mean, especially now, like considering the fact that looking at the bot lanes, I know we did just interview Strider, and I'm not gonna the bot lanes as well are relatively strong. You have Strider that you have to play against, you have Patar that you have to play against. Those are still two really good AD carries. Do you think they can beat the 1v1 master?
Um, well, from my experience, I think it's always, especially for bot lane, I think it's always like a very unique role in league. The such that you do, I think, if you want to be one of the better bot lanes, the synergy is almost a bit more important than the standout individual plays of the players. So, and I think maybe that's something Van and I struggled with a bit back when I first joined Royalty. But I think we've gotten to a much better point of, maybe he trusts me a bit more now, and we can like maybe disagree on, and he maybe sees my side of laning a bit more. So yeah, I think we're a lot stronger in that sense. Obviously for someone like Strider, playing against him, it also depend how much he's grown with the support over the past couple months. I think that was probably the biggest weakness I felt playing against them last time, was they're just very disjointed. And that's also why it's always very fun to play against ATK, because they obviously, I think they're probably the longest lasting bot lane. So yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. There's obviously a lot of tense stuff about that. But like building synergy, obviously isn't easy. It comes with a lot of hurdles, especially like the aforementioned 1v1 champion is not really known for being easy to deal with. So how would you go about how did you go about building that synergy? I've in the past, what we've done is a lot like play some other things together, just chill in the team speak and just get to know each other a little bit more. But it feels like with you more like just to you guys just played a lot more together. Sorry, I'm reading what people are typing to me because they think I can read and think at the same time. But that just was built over time. And then added to that question is a question that Alex is who's like the team that you are most not scared, but who do you think is your biggest competition in your group in Group B?
Considering
Since
it's a
it is
best
based
of
of
two.
two. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll answer the first one. I think with Van, I think I think bot lane's quite unique in that sense of growing synergy. I think every duo is going to be different. With him and I, it was kind of just, I think we've talked a lot over the months. We've kind of, I think there's some things that he's like very intelligent about, and I really do listen when he talks about them. At the same time, I hope some points that I bring up he does consider, So I think it's just being able to, sometimes you got to have those difficult conversations, it might get a bit heated or you might disagree about some things, but just making sure that you're coming together at the end for the betterment of the lane and for your team. I think that's important. And then in this group, I'm actually interested to see the Evo team. Obviously, I think they did say that Duck's only playing after the group, so I don't know if he'll be playing these weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who they're running then. But if it was with Duck, then I'd probably say with Evo, because I think he does add a very sort of chaotic style to the game, which can sometimes be our weakness as well a little bit. But other than that, I think I'd have to give it to GG. Just they've been the team that's been there the longest. They do have, I think they did it in split one even. They actually beat us, where they pulled out some stuff we really weren't prepared for. So I think they do have a lot of good preparation going into series like this, especially in the best of two. Yeah.
100%. Well, thank you for dropping in. We appreciate it.
Thank you for
Good
having
luck
me.
with the groups and with dealing with your bot lane partner. And we wish you obviously the best of luck, and we're looking forward to seeing you play.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you very much.
100%.
Bye.
Bye. Oh,
So
okay.
I mean, obviously, looking at the group A, and I mean we've gone through Group B. Any final thoughts on Group B before we just do a summary of everything?
Yo, where to start? Where to start?
There's so much.
There's one thing I know I thought about asking, but I really didn't want to ask because I felt like it was sort of an unfair question to ask because obviously it's difficult to answer. But I feel like the one thing we have to think about as well. I know I asked both teams. Are you you're playing with your younger players, you can't kind of unresponsive or having a bad time, and there's no real
Extremely.
way for you to kind of like snap someone out of it, by like walking up, giving him a hug, giving a fist bump, whatever. So that's got to be a real concern for teams at the moment. I mean, I've seen some serious horror games where players have just completely dumpstered the game because they've been tilted and they can't come back. And online, it's actually much harder to come back from things like that.
100%, because they like a lot of the time, because you're in your own environment, you can like kind of like be in your own mind, and there's not that thing about, okay, cool, let's walk outside, let's go stand outside, and we all talk. You see this a lot with the top teams, and you see this a lot with people memeing me, especially Miss Not. It's like, to take off your headsets. Come, let's take a walk. Let me talk to you. Calm down. It's just one game. It's not the end of the world. We relax. And being at a live final for teams that have more experience, not only in their players, in their management, and everything. It does benefit them. But at the end of the day, it's you have to take it as it comes. Every year there's different challenges, there's different problems you have to face, and this year it's this. So
Yeah.
let's see. Every year is just about who can adapt the best, and the team that at the end of the day makes their environment the best, they're the ones who's gonna take home the gold.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a double-edged sword at the end of the day because it could definitely benefit you because your players are comfortable in their own home, but also it could be a case of your players might struggle to sort of tap into that seriousness that they need for a real tournament because they're comfortable and it's just like a mundane sort of thing. Every day you just sit and play at your own house. So there might be that little disconnect that teams are not looking out for. So it could make it really interesting. And the one point I wanted to point out as well earlier that I didn't end up mentioning is obviously with the way league is, I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I mean, a lot of these players are international. Well, not a lot, but there are quite a few teams with
Yep.
one or more international players that are allowed to play this year. So I think that's also really bringing up the level of South African League of Legends because yes, those players are at a slight advantage with the ping, but also just having those players around, I think, adds to the sort of experience that's in the pool of League of Legends in South Africa and can help a lot of young players grow. And I mean, if you just look at Not and Patar, this is a duo that formed when they were in GG, and now they've started a whole new team. And I know I've already harped on about this, but they're sitting what
Yeah.
third on the log already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's something that's impressive. And those players that are in that team are not all like old players. Duck Zede is not an old player. That's someone that's come up recently in the last couple of years. Like a lot of these players are new players, and it's something that's really nice to see because there was a point where SA League was just stagnant. It's just
Yeah.
the same sort of teams just trading blows, swapping out players, and it's nice to see that
I
people
mean,
are getting more competitive.
international players also shows there's interest in our league. Interest from people like Alpaca isn't even South African. It's not like Kiddo, who is a South African that played here first, went there, and then came back. Batar is nothing to do with South Africa. These are internationals that play here, even though they don't know any. Some of them might never have even been here before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a very interesting thing. It just shows the growth of the league. Because a couple of years ago, you would never dreamed of teams flying out international players to come compete. Now, okay, this year it's online, but last year people were getting flown out, and if this year it was a LAN again, probably a lot of internationals would have been flown in again. So it is great to see the growth of the league.
Yeah, one thing I'm also really, really, really interested by, and I know we have been talking about this and mentioning this every 2 seconds, but once again, the fact that it's two games, the fact
Yeah.
that the groups is two games for me is such a big thing, and people might not think it's that important, but I mean, if I think back to the last year of league that I played, we made a mistake and like sort of ended up in an odd spot in the brackets and lost the game. We then ended up, because we ended up in losers brackets where we did, we had to play like almost 11 games in one day just because of the brackets. And people need to really realize that, you know what, if you mess up in these group stages and you get the wrong seed and you end up fourth and you end up being like Royalty versus 80k first round and you get dropped down, that's a long way to go. It has happened before that teams have come back from the losers brackets to win, but that's a long way to go. And it's not an easy road at all. And there's a lot more games you have to follow. So, I mean, you have to play, and it's really strenuous on players. People don't understand how badly playing like 10 games in one day. That's the reason most League of Legends pros
Yeah.
only get to play like a couple in one day. It's really strenuous, and I feel like a lot of players are a lot luckier this year that they don't necessarily have to go through that because it's so well spread out. But it's still something that people need to worry about. And with this Group B in particular, there is so many dark horse players that can just suddenly cause an upset in a game. You know, like a random split pushing TF. Dude, I keep having strokes today. I can't help it. But like a split pushing TF, a split pushing Yorick, like a Kled. There's so much that I'm just so excited to see. And I mean, with the young blood in these games as well, it feels like a totally different league compared to Group A, where you kind of have your like, and even the styles. Like in Group A, you've got two top teams that are like very cookie cutter, like they have a game plan and they come in with a game
Very
plan.
standard.
Whereas you get Royalty, who often when you watch their games, it looks like a crazy solo queue game, and you get any team with Steven Knott in is always prone, and Targa is always prone to doing some outrageously crazy stuff that you'd
Very
never
true.
think works, and it works.
Yeah. And
So
you know, ATG Zero's there, a League of Legends team, you know, Error Lost Time. I mean, it's a lot of teams that could be like, just throw something at the wall and see what sticks, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, in a best of two, if you lose, it's not like the classic royalty reverse sweep thing where you drop game one of a best of three. And it's like, it doesn't matter. We're just going to beat you twice now because we already have a read on you. Now it's like, no, you drop a game. That kind of messes you up because now you can draw against this team.
Yeah.
So even if you lose because they cheesed you and then you smash them game two, doesn't matter. You lost the game. And now it can be in a position where you lose to a GG, you lose to an Evo, you lose to these teams. Or, you know, a team like ATG, Slave picks Vayne and they get to the late game stage and they can beat anyone, you know? And you have these types of things and now you're looking, okay, cool. Maybe we should play a little bit more calm, collected. We can't be just like trying to run over them game one, you know, because a lot of times you try and run over them game one, you make a mistake, you throw game one. In a best of two, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last year with I think it was Subscribe to PewDiePie who played the Master E. And I mean, just a game like that, it can take a game off of you, mess you up, like you said, for the rest of the leg. You've got to make sure that you've got to be very dependent on the next games that you win in order to pass through to either that the top tier bracket or the lower bracket, or even worse, be relegated. And in that, I mean, these games are for points. So you win a game, you get a point. You lose a game, you don't get any points. So drawing, you're getting a point each, opposed to you getting just those double points. So it does make a big difference to maintaining that best of two between your team.
Definitely.
So, are we going to do any predictions? Are we going to go for any predictions? Yeah.
You guys want to do just who you think gets top 4 in each group or something?
I can do top 4 in each group, yeah.
Okay. So, Group A. Okay, Roidzz, hit us Group A. Who you think 1 to 4?
Where's that graphic, Carl? You got to give me that graphic. I'll click through all these teams again, and it's
I mean,
just
so Group A, we're looking at Trooper, Team Ferocity, DSG, ATK, Era Millennium, Omnius Gaming, XYZ Reflect, CG Living Failures, and Origin of the Shadows Synergy.
I'm gonna go with a wild selection here. I'm gonna go with 80k on top, of course.
Oh, that's crazy. I wouldn't
Of
have guessed
course.
that. Okay.
Of course, we can't take 80k away from the top spot in this team. I'm gonna go with Era Millennium. Ooh, I think I'm gonna go with Era Millennium second, right?
Okay.
And then I'm going to put in. Oh, I'm gonna put in XYZ Reflect
Okay.
in third,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna put in. Maybe DSG. I think maybe DSG. I think we're gonna
Dude,
go.
I'm like, I'm kind of like, I don't
It's
know.
so difficult because we look
It
at this
is.
group and we say, okay, well, 80k we know, we know.
My number 1 and 2 is kind of locked. I'm not
But
gonna lie.
I look at the rest of the teams and I like that it's closer than you think, because I look at these teams and I think to myself, every single one of these teams throughout the league, barring 80k, they've done extremely well. They've beaten, they've come done unpredictable things, and then they've also done weird things. So it's very difficult to kind of put two and two together. I mean, Jan, you can do your predictions first before I do mine.
Okay, crazy prediction. 80k number 1. I have to support the CS:GO guys I play with a lot. Then I'm gonna go Era number 2. I just think they're super consistent, and I think that on the uptick, like recently, they've been playing even better and better and better, and I think they're kind of synergizing very well. See, I don't want to do the same as Roidzz, but like I kind of think I'm the same. Third, I'm okay. I'm gonna say Trooper gets third. I think they're gonna shock people. I think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna beat a lot of teams, but I think they're gonna take games off of teams in a best of 2 that other teams aren't gonna be able to. So I think they take a game off like Era maybe or something like that. I think they're very. It's possible. And then I'm gonna go fourth. Ugh! Do I back Fino or my boy Pete? I have to back Pete. Yeah.
Fourth.
Ah.
Ooh, you know,
I
know
think Trooper are crazy. I honestly think they're gonna come out with some crazy shit and beat people. I honestly think that.
I mean, they were
I
top,
don't know why.
they top 6 in Prem at the moment. You gotta remember that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. They're gonna. I mean, they were 6th. They placed higher than DSG. So
can I make a change to my prediction?
no, why? Because
I just want to make a change. No. I want to make a change. I actually
Okay.
have an idea. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
gonna say this, right? I'm gonna say it's 80k on top by a landslide. I'm gonna say it's a tiebreaker decision between Era Millennium and XYZ, and
Okay.
then I don't know who comes next.
Another
I think-
tiebreaker
I think-
between
I think-
DSG and Trooper.
I think
No,
maybe
that's
another
just cheating.
tiebreaker.
You're literally
saying-
just picking all the teams.
Well, you see, the thing is, my argument is, if we end up with a tiebreaker, I see Era Millennium taking it, but like XYZ are just they still have that chance. There's like those dark horses in that team. Like you don't like no one ever says it, but you don't count Dash out, dude. You know you
Yeah.
don't. They pull out
can't,
something
you can't.
sneaky, and then dude, no. And like Lux Twitch, I see it coming. I can see it in my future. Lux and Twitch in a game with a Riri or something, and I'm just like, it's definitely gonna be. I think it's gonna be really close between those top 3 teams. In my opinion.
100%. Do we want to move on to Group B?
Yeah. Let's go Group B.
I mean, the predictions for Group B again.
Oh,
This is a tough one.
Yeah, I'm kind of okay. Group B is a lot. There's a lot of good teams, fair, but I feel like my calls are easy. Like easier compared to Group A, because Group A, the 3rd and 4th team is up in there for me. Like Group B, I'm seeing like a clear top 3, and then 4th, I think it's going to be close. I don't know. What do you think, Roidzz? Hit me with your predictions, Roidzz?
You want my prediction? You really want my prediction?
I kind of don't do it. Don't do it.
I wore this shirt the entire past so that I could do that.
It's
It
funny
is not
because
fun,
there's no
it's very
cameras on.
warm.
There's no camera. I love it.
Did you seriously change the camera?
Oh, no. I told you. he's
Well,
gonna troll
in case anybody was knowing or doesn't know, I'm wearing a royalty T-shirt.
you. Now they know.
Now they know.
I mean,
But
yeah.
yeah, I think I have to back my boys. I can't honestly walk into a group's conversation that has just Royalty in and not Royalty and ATK and say that I don't think Royalty are going to win. I think if Royalty are by themselves, they're going to end up top here. But, but, at the same time, the one thing that I will say is I think it's a lot closer between these two top teams than the other group. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
agree.
surprised if
agree.
Evo take a game off of them and force a tiebreaker. You know, like, I really do feel like GG are sadly a step below these two teams. They have the chance to pull off something really cheesy, I think, and that could potentially win them a game against one of these two teams. And they both need to be careful of that. But I really do think that we might see an upset between
Yeah.
Evo and Royalty.
Yeah.
Like, we might even see Evo pop out and 2-0 Royalty, depending on, like I said, depending on how the players play the game. And especially considering the fact that they're not playing with their full roster and they're having to play with a sub in, which is obviously a little bit suboptimal. They could technically lose a 2-0 to Evo. So I'm going to put it really close between the two.
Yeah.
I will obviously have to back Royalty, but I think it's a very close call, that, and it's really hard to split those two teams.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Royalty 1, Evo 2, and then 3, what? GG.
GG.
Okay,
And
who's your fourth?
I'm not even gonna choose a fourth place team
Yeah.
because
That's
I
not how it
feel like-
works.
I feel like I'd be doing
Yeah.
like some teams just like all those teams are so
disservice.
close, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, I think you've got that love triangle from first to third. I personally think any one of those teams can come out first, second, or third. I mean, you could have it Royalty beating Evo, Evo beating GG, GG beating Royalty. I think that's definitely a possibility. You can just have it as a complete circle. I think fourth place is open to any one of those 6 teams. I think there's definitely potential for any one of those 6 teams to if they really want it, fight hard for it, and they will get that fourth place.
My power went off, so it's gonna go off pretty soon. Everything else.
No, it's cool. I think
But,
we're gonna wrap up soon anyway.
Yeah, my predictions: Royalty 1, Evo 2, GG 3, and then I'm gonna go ATG, ATG as number 4. For me, I like Sunbear, Flexion, Slave. I think they're all 3 of them are very good players. All of them are very good players, and I think they can do a lot. And yeah, I think, like you guys said, it's very plausible that Royalty drops games to these teams. It's all going to be about who shows up on the day and who's susceptible to dropping games, to some kind of cheese or some kind of, weirdness, basically.
Yes, 100%. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up everything. Roidzz, do you have anything to say from your side?
yeah, look, I'm really, really excited to get these games underway. For those of you that are still here and are still watching, the first game we will be casting is going to be a game between Evo and a League of Legends team. So we're going to get some answers very soon. That's going to be on the 21st, this Friday.
Yeah.
I think it's at 8. The last time I saw the game was organized for 8. I might have to double check, but I think it is still 8 o'clock. And yeah, I'm really excited, dude. Looking at these groups, I can't wait to cast a lot of Group B. I know that sounds really biased, but that group just looks like it's going to be really, really fun to cast, especially with, like I said, the type of players and the type of teams that we're meeting up with. But yeah, and huge shout out to VS Gaming and Telkom for making this all happen
100%.
once again. They've really, really supported us throughout the years. And I mean, there's still like a 50k prize pool up for grabs. So players are really should be really excited for this. And I mean, VS always also pull out, those undercover sponsors on the side that also give generally some extra stuff.
100%.
So I'm just so excited to get these casts done and see who is the top dog, especially with our famous storyline, Vanza versus Kiddo. Like, that is what I am excited to watch.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm very excited.
Well, thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jan, for tuning in, and thank you to everybody else who stuck around watching for this long. We had a few hiccups in the beginning. Sorry, first time doing this type of stuff. So hopefully, as the time goes on, we just get better. And yeah, thank you again, and we'll catch you on Friday. I'm gonna give you guys another throw out at that hype video before we go out. But have a good night.
Woo! Let's get ready.
We're stronger than ever. Feel like the boys already. And we're ready to take this thing home.